So first question, who's using Azure DevOps? Okay, if you're not, this talk is still relevant, so don't worry. It's just how to use it as well. So Azure DevOps has a capability to put wiki, so you can do your documentation. But the aspects of the documentation is it doesn't enable you to do doesn't enable you to do diagrams within your documentation. So you can copy and paste a picture in. Literally, not last release, but previous release, they introduced the capability to do mermaid documentation. So for those who aren't aware of that, I'll just show you what that looks like. So is people aware of, people know of infrastructure as code. You put your code with your source code to enable you to build the infrastructure. The way I see stuff like Mermaid and PlantUML is putting your documentation with your code. So it's on the right branch. So it enables you to actually update your documentation on the version you're working on, not doing it in advance or doing it behind. So in Azure DevOps, we've got our wiki. And this is an example here on the right-hand side of diagrams which are generated using the mermaid syntax, which I'll show you now. So this is the mermaid syntax. So the first one is for a flow diagram. It's just literally saying A to B, A to C. So it's very capable so that you can store it in source control and you can compare the differences. And then the other one is the sequence diagram. So at the moment you're a little bit restricted to what you can do and the types of images that you can use. So that's where PlantUML comes into play. So original PlantUML, you've got UML syntax. So flow diagrams, and we'll go into the different types. But what other people have done, so this guy, he's grabbed the images that you got in Azure to symbolize the different services, and he's made a syntax to enable you to do it with PlantUML, but use Azure logos. And someone else has done it for AWS. And there's another one called C4. C4 is an architectural approach to make things more abstract, and you get nice little legend at the bottom here, and so you can actually have a high level diagrams put together. So what we'll be showing you is, so with Azure DevOps, I made it so I'm storing the wiki in code, and when I check the code in, or check in the wiki, it generates all the pictures for me because it's not native out of the box yet to do PlantUML. And then it checks all those images back into source control as part of the build. So there's an extension as part of Visual Studio Code which enables you to create your diagrams and see what they look like quickly. And that's that one, Jebs. So if you search for PlantUML in Visual Studio, you find that. So if we just look at some of these, let's go for a simple one. Let's say a simple one. Here we go. So with the add-in for Visual Studio Code, you just do an Alt-D and it will generate the diagram for you. So you can see here that we've got an actor here, our user, and we're saying that it's we've also got this case down here, got a start button, and we've also got another actor. And so literally to draw the relationships, you just do a dash and an arrow, and then that links it up. So if I say like remove that and do Alt D, it's removed that relationship. So what you could do, I haven't done it, and I was trying to put something together today, but you could actually computer generate these diagrams. So there's one out there which enables you point it to your C# folder, and it will automatically generate your class diagrams for your application. So that could be a next step on, or use it to generate a ERD for your database. So sequence diagram, straightforward. You define again your three aspects of the diagram, and then the rest of it is just literally your arrow notation to say this relates to this. So they're the UML ones. So C4 and the other ones, we have to define the libraries. In the case, this is the URL to, let me just show you this, the definition. So this is the UML, this is the definition for PlantUML, which you can look at, and you can make changes if you want, which enables this notation to look different to the original PlantUML one. But here we've got a actor, which is a person, and if I say like put _ext, straight away I'm making that an external person, and it'll be a different colour. So that's quite handy. And then you've got these system boundary, which does illustrate this box around it. Then everything inside this box is part of that system boundary. So here I've got something called app, and so that's the reference which it uses to do the relationships, and then you've got the description fields afterwards. And then we've got the Azure one along the same lines, but here you specify more includes here for the different logos. There's no point pulling down the whole library from the internet for every single different logo type there is in Azure. You just select the ones that you do want. And then, yeah, here all we're saying is we've got an Azure Event Hub. That's our variable in essence, and then that's our definitions. You define all of those, and then you define your relationships between those underneath it. And say, for example, I'll just delete those. It will make up and create just blobs to represent the items which I've removed. So it's a quick way to realise, oh, I've got a reference to a variable which I haven't defined what type it is. And then for AWS, it's almost identical, just different names. Sorry, that's not AWS. That's back to C4. I'll show you AWS in a minute. So yeah, so that's what the syntax. So if we just get back to Azure DevOps. So here's my repository. So we've got the PMG of AWS in here, but that was added as part of the continuous integration pipeline, which I've defined for these documents, which we'll look at in a moment. And up here is the actual wiki. So when we look at the wiki for AWS, I've just got a README file there, which I'm pointing to the actual diagram.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So if I'm a business person, I'm not getting confused seeing the PlantUML code. I'm just in the pictures. So here's the pipeline, which is the continuous integration build for this diagram. So I'm using a Node app. So I have to install Node 6 on the actual build server, install the Node application, and then I've got a PowerShell script which checks out the code, loops around searching for any PlantUML, generates the PNG inside the folder with the right name, and then checks it back in. And then you've got your diagrams with your code in your wiki. So like I said, we could create another step in here which actually points to your source code and generates your documentation against your source code, or point it to your infrastructure and do that with your infrastructure. So yeah, so that is PlantUML. I haven't done it yet, but there will be a blog post up at this site which will go into more details. There's some more configuration has to go into configuring it for Azure DevOps, just getting the right security permissions, but that is how you use PlantUML with Azure DevOps. Okay?
Thanks.